All right, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter of SABR. I'm Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner-Waterman chapter of SABR in Vermont, Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. Now, before we get started, we're going to go to Joanne Hulbert, who has a poem for us tonight. Joanne?
Okay. Yes, I searched high and low. I wanted to find something that would be specifically about baseball and inventions, but I haven't found a poem that's directly like it, but I got something pretty darn close. Now, this has to do with Frank Schulte. And anybody remembers who Frank Schulte is? He was a right fielder for the Cubs back during the time of Tinker and Evers and Chance, but he was out in right field. And actually, he was the subject of many more poems, actually, than any of those other three guys. And that's an obscure little baseball poetry nub of information. But Ringleiter had a lot of fun with him. But anyway, but Frank Schulte's a little special to me because he and I, we almost touched. We almost touched. He died 2 days before I was born. So, so the things we almost made it. So here's my other tribute also to Frank Schulte. And this is a poem written by Hugh Keogh for the Chicago Daily Tribune in 1911. And here it is. They look alike to me, with apologies to the author of Frank Schulte. I do not care what ball they use in 1912, as long as it is round and hard, and will not make a delve a lot of difference. Just so's it come to eye, straight across the Platterino and just above belt high. I don't care what they put in it or what's the maker's name. If it comes snorting up to me, I'll make it to be tame. For Schulte, he has no respect for any kind of ball. The trademark and the official stamp don't cut no grass at all. Thank you, Frank Schulte. And that is a fair warning to inventors who want to get a little bit too crazy. So there
Joanne, I love when you come out with your poems. Thank you very much. We appreciate
there you
you.
go.
Jeff, I don't know how you're going to follow this up, but Jeff, tell us what's going on with the podcast this week, would you?
I can't follow that up.
Right?
On this week's Baseball and BBQ podcast, we are speaking with author Jeffrey Orens, who wrote Selling Baseball, How Superstars George Wright and Albert Spaulding Impacted Sports in America. It's a fascinating book. It's a great conversation we had, and it's available on all your podcast apps. And just to let you know, coming up, dropping this Saturday is going to be Henry Thomas. Who's Henry Thomas? He is the grandson of the great Walter Johnson. And boy, does he have some stories. So everybody should tune into Baseball and BBQ on all your podcast apps. Thanks, Bruce.
You bet. If you are not downloading that podcast each week, you are missing out. It is available on all your podcatchers. Just go out there and search Baseball and BBQ and download it. I mean, what's better than baseball and food? I mean, it's terrific. And Jeffrey Orens is a friend of our chapter. He's fantastic. That book is wonderful. And you're not going to want to miss that. So go out and listen to that one today. All right, we have a call out for submissions. We are still looking for submissions for the inaugural Clyde Sukeforth chapter newsletter launching in January of 2026. All SABR members are invited to contribute. We are especially interested in research articles, personal essays, and book reviews of 1,000 to 1,500 words. Reviewed books may be newly published or have a Northern New England connection. Poetry, photography, and artwork will also be considered. And here's your chance to name the newsletter. We are looking for a name that reflects the character and identity of our Northern New England region. A few good examples from around SABR include the 11th Street Eagle in Northern New Jersey, the Magnolia Magazine in Atlanta, and the Baltimore Chop in Baltimore, Maryland. The contest will run until November 15th. Send your submission via email to Megan Hanna. I will get her email and drop it in the chat, or email me and I'll send it along to her. And after the submission window closes, chapter members will have the chance to vote on their favorite. The winner will receive a book from our library and some bragging rights too. All right. On to our feature presentation. Here we go. As baseball equipment technology developed at breakneck speed in the late 19th century, inventors of fielding gloves and every other baseball related contrivance raced to the United States Patent Office to protect their designs, often driven by dreams of fame and fortune. While George Rawlings, Henry Decker, and Bob Reach offered practical improvements that found acceptance with professional ballplayers, James E. Bennett patented two of the strangest and most impractical items of baseball gear ever conceived shortly after the turn of the 20th century. Our presenter tonight offers a historical perspective into the innovation of fielding glove technology and a brief glimpse into the mind of an inventor who seemed to have little notion of how baseball works. SABR member John Racanelli is a Chicago lawyer with an insatiable interest in baseball-related litigation. When not rooting for his beloved Cubs, or working, he is probably reading a baseball book or blog, planning his next baseball trip, or enjoying downtime with his wife and family. He is the membership director of the Emil Roth Chicago chapter, founder and co-chair of the Baseball Landmarks Research Committee, and a regular contributor to the Baseball Cards Research Committee blog. His series of articles, Death and Taxes and Baseball Card Litigation, was a 2023 McFarland Sabre Baseball Research Award winner. John Racanelli, welcome back to Northern New England, my friend. How you doing?
Doing great, Bruce. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you bringing me back here to talk again. I didn't bore you last time with
Did not.
the topics we discussed. So thank
It
you.
is all yours, my friend.
I recognize some of the people on the call here. If you don't know who I am, you will never get me to shut up about the Cubs, Hack Wilson, baseball cards, and probably surprisingly mushrooms. So let's talk about mushrooms.
Yeah.
Despite the availability of information in this modern world, you may be surprised to find out that at least 100 people still die each year from eating poisonous mushrooms. And as you know, some mushrooms are delicious, some will make you hallucinate, and then there are some that will definitely kill you. But throughout human history, people have had to try those mushrooms for the first time to find out whether or not they are deadly. And once upon a time, baseball equipment development followed a similar trial and error method. It's evident in the patents issued in the first 50 years of the professional game. And like Bruce mentioned, some inventions have improved the game, some have fallen flat, and some, like those of our guest of honor tonight, James E. Bennett, appear to have been conceived by a man clearly under the influence of magic mushrooms. So let me get my PowerPoint up here. All right, so I think it's important to maybe just take a step back, look at the very interesting, to me at least, patent process and kind of how it works. So essentially, patents were first kind of developed in Europe in the 1400s, and the first one was issued in the United States in 1790. Governments essentially recognized protection of inventors' efforts that encouraged technological advancement. And the patent grants exclusive rights for a limited time. At this point, at least in the United States, it's 20 years. That number has shifted back and forth at different times. And at this point, I think it's pretty much aligned across the world. Most countries now are giving a 20-year protection. And essentially, the baseball patents include really every conceivable piece of equipment, training aid. It includes the compression of broadcasts, the objective methods to measure player ability, and we'll see in a little bit all kinds of other things. But if you are interested in this early technology, the United States Patent and Trademark Office website offers an amazing rabbit hole to go down to look at all this crazy equipment, little changes, big changes, crazy stuff, and so forth. And there are literally thousands of baseball related patents that were issued from 1866 through the present. And as you can see here, this is a picture of a baseball, a patent filed by John Maynard of the Draper Maynard Company, a baseball design from 1928. I believe that company, if I'm not mistaken, is a building that still exists in Massachusetts. There is a plaque on the outside of the building, so if you want to see where these baseballs were made in 1927 and even earlier, that building still exists. But what can be patented? It's pretty much a machine, a process, article of manufacture, or even a composition of matter or an improvement of that. So for instance, it's not just devices, but there was a patent issued for oil-eating bacteria used to clean up spills of oil in the ocean. And the key though is that each of the devices or processes, it must be new, non-obvious, and useful. And useful means the invention will function as expected and has a useful purpose. But as you will see soon, useful does not necessarily mean it's commercially marketable. The patent examiners are not judging the potential marketability of what may be a really stupid looking idea. But this concept of usefulness is really going to come into play when we look at the two inventions that James Bennett tried to contribute to the baseball world. And this photo here, or the drawing there, this is a patent from 1971 issued to Paul Collins, and it's an improvement on a fielder's glove. The improvement being that finger slot. You might think that at some point someone decided they wanted to put their finger outside the glove. Maybe they sliced it with a knife or something, and Paul took it upon himself to put some holes around it, wrap some laces in there, and that's what the improvement was the finger slot. That is, if you don't have a regular glove with the, I don't even know what you call the back part of it, you're going to see this in pretty much any modern, especially outfielder's glove. But I expect that everybody here is probably wondering whether there are any mushroom-related patents. And of course, there are mushroom-related patents. So here's one from 1931. And it's essentially a culture used to grow mushrooms made of sawdust, bran, and water. In 1976, similar culture made of sawdust, potato starch, yeast, gypsum, and water. This is a area of technology that also keeps improving. So I'm hoping that you might be interested in joining me in the Society for Amazing Mushroom Research. I'd like to say that it's open to all spores fans, and we really do have great caps. But I digress. So here are some of the earliest baseball patents ever. This one is from 1866. It is the first known baseball utility patent. George Hill created a bat with a slit in the barrel that could be either filled with rubber or leather to give the ball a spring-like effect. And this is essentially the first corked bat. It was patented, right? So in 1872, we've got James Osgood making a ball with this unique stitching method. This was a mode of covering rounded articles with leather that included the double herringbone stitch, that stitch that is still on a baseball today. And interestingly enough, this patent resulted in the very first case that the U.S. Supreme Court ever dealt with involving baseball. Kind of somewhat poetically, considering that it involves the baseball, and it was the person that was assigned the patent, this Louis Mann, sued Harwood for patent infringement, but that move backfired on him because the court found that the patent was invalid. And then this went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, who affirmed. And you're going to see here a cool, oh, it's Natick, Massachusetts. So, but this is kind of like an old advertisement for them. Baseballs and bats. I love it when baseball used to be two words, right? And here's a mask that was patented in 1878. This is Frederick Thayer. He was a Harvard ball player, captain of the baseball team for 3 years, and he invented this very rudimentary but practical looking catcher's mask. This one, you may not be surprised, also resulted in a lawsuit. He sued King of Sporting Goods, Al Spalding, here in Illinois, and actually won the case that that Spalding was selling the masks without his consent.
Oh, no.
So I just feel like, how can you not be romantic about baseball litigation? At least I am. But this one here is probably the very first baseball patent ever. This is a design patent, and this was found due to some really excellent sleuthing by John Thorne. This was issued on July 3rd, 1866. You might remember that the spring bat George Hill patented was in October of 1866, but this was issued to Philip and William Reed just months before. And essentially, that diamond shape that you see, that texturized grip for the bat, that was what the design element was. But this is, as far as we know, the very first baseball patent ever issued. But James Bennett's inventions concern methods for catching baseballs. So here are some of the earliest glove patents. This one is patented on January 1st, 1878 by Austin Butts of Newark, New Jersey. And this was just an improvement in gloves specifically for sporting and general use. The gloves were manufactured also with cut-off fingers and some of them included padding. And as you can see here, this advertisement from 1878 shows that the buckskin ones were the most expensive for $2 for those. That's about $66 today. The reindeer was less expensive. I don't know that they still make gloves out of reindeer hide, but I thought it was pretty fitting that the reindeer skin was less expensive. And this other patent that was issued to Austin Butts was issued literally on Christmas of 1883. So just thought that was kind of weird.
Hmm.
As we go through the 19th century, this is a glove patented in 1885 by George Rawlings. Yes, that George Rawlings. This is one that is, again, shown with both no fingers and fingers. And if you look at that bottom figure, it sure looks to me a lot like a modern batting glove. I mean, it's pretty similar. So next in 1889, Harry Decker, who you may know logged over 850 innings behind the plate in his 4-year big league career. This one looks a lot like a modern oven mitt, perhaps. Harry Decker then in 1891 patented this glove, which is looking more like a baseball glove. But as you can see, the front of that glove is literally just a flat piece of foam or cork, such that the catcher would just have the ball hit and you'd have to catch it with your other hand. In 1891, Bob Reach invented this glove, which had an adjustable inflatable bladder. And you may know Bob Reach as Al Reach's brother, who helped found the Philadelphia Phillies and built a sporting goods empire similar in rivalry to Al Spalding. In 1894, we've got Elroy Rogers' catcher's glove, which shows a seemingly more familiar design that essentially kind of stayed in this pillow format until the late 60s. And catchers like Randy Hundley kind of popularized the one-handed hinged catcher's mitt catching technique. But as you could see from George Rawlings in 1885 through the Rogers glove in 1894, in less than 10 years, we went from what were essentially just batting gloves to a recognizable catcher's mitt. And during the early days, players played a big role in the development of a lot of this equipment. And this continued even through modern times. So we've got in 1906, Elmer Flick, Hall of Famer with some sliding pads. 1912, Tommy McCarthy, another Hall of Famer, maybe questionable, but I didn't say that out loud. He's got these improved cleats. In 1912, we got Fred Clark with another sliding pads. and he invented the flip down sunglasses that were still popular in the 80s and 90s. He also invented a mechanical tarp, a diamond cover that he patented in 1911. You might know Kit Nichols as the Hall of Fame hurler. He patented this scoreboard display to broadcast games in 1913. Back in those days, they would have like a ticker tape that would show what was going on in a game. People would stand outside department stores or whatever, and this was essentially like what television was at this point. And a lot of this technology from 1913 reminds me of watching Game Day right now. So I can only expect that there's somewhere on this that says in play runs. That's a joke. I'm sure there's not. So continuing the theme of Hall of Fame players patenting sliding pads, here's Max Carey in 1927. Umpire Bill Clem got in the game in 1949 with this improved bag. Again, this is the one that's filled with materials and strapped down. I see Mark Hoyle on the call. This is Elson Howard. I know him best as an Impossible Dreamer Red Sox player. This is the donut from 1967. Tom Tresh invented this sliding pad in 1989. White Sox player Dave Gallagher with this. It kind of looks like a ball and chain, but shackles. This is essentially a trainer to limit your stride when you're batting. Jesse Barfield invented this bat display in 1991. Craig Biggio with this training bat that's hinged in the middle so that it gives you an idea if your swing is true or not, from 2013. And in 2015, this is Cal Ripken's and whatever this is. So I'm not exactly sure what this means. Perhaps somebody out there can figure this out, but it's over my head. So was our James Bennett also a ball player with a good idea or two? The James Bennett that is found in Baseball Reference was a member of the Sharon, Pennsylvania Ironmongers in 1895. That Sharon Ball Club was sold and then moved to Celeron, New York. Played at a ballpark that is right on the river or right on the water. Our James Bennett was born on March 3rd, 1857. So if this is the same guy who was celebrated in the papers, a good player who will soon catch on with a good club, his only professional season would have come as a 38-year-old. So it's probably not him. But the cool thing is the ballpark in Celeron where this James Bennett played is now Lucille Ballpark. And within the park are a couple of Lucille Ball statues. So I know this isn't necessarily technically Sabre baseball map related, but they are Lucille Ball statues. And it is pretty cool to see that the area where the ballpark was still kind of resembles a ballpark, but just kind of cool. One of the things that as you do baseball research, if anybody is like me, you kind of go down these rabbit hills and you find yourself looking up Lucille Ball for no reason out of nowhere. So, but in terms of who James Bennett is and what we know about him, he was born in Iowa. He made his home in Momence, Illinois. It's a rural community about an hour south of Chicago, right along the Kankakee River. And it was significant early on because the Dixie Highway, Route 1, or at least in this day it was called Rain Street, offered the earliest roadway that connected Chicago to Miami, Florida. So a lot of people would come through here. And if anybody has seen the movie Tom Hanks' Road to Perdition, bank robbery scenes were filmed in downtown Moment, so you may recognize some of this. But who was James Bennett or James Bennett that we have here? Question mark. Is he an industrial engineer? So here's some patents from Bennett. In 1902, we've got some running gear for wagons. In 1903, we've got some running gear for wagons. 1904, he patents this telephone climber seat I didn't realize they had telephone poles in 1902, but I guess they did. And he invented the seat. And I think it's kind of interesting here. You see this name down at the bottom, J.M. Towers. Uh, that's Joseph Tower. And I have not found any indication he was ever a licensed attorney in Illinois. And the records here go back. You could find Abraham Lincoln's law license if you wanted to. So, but this kind of area was the sweet spot for Bennett's baseball patents. So kind of what did the state-of-the-art baseball glove technology look like in 1905? So we've got, this is Burt Rogers' catcher's mitt. Looks very recognizable. This is the Edgar Goldsmith catcher's glove or mitt. Again, very recognizable. 1905, here we've got Frank Sheldon and Corey Dudley with the catcher's mitt or glove. And this is John Peach catching glove. Peach actually hailed from Gloversville, New York, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So, how did James Bennett hope to improve baseball gloves in 1905? This is one of the sketches of Bennett's baseball glove. This, I'm sure you'll agree, looks a lot like a glove, right? Maybe this one a little more, but why is it so thick? Any guesses? Ah, of course. It's designed to be used with both hands like an accordion. Like what? Can you imagine any issues with this? What is your catching radius? When you go to throw, is it just going to dangle off your other hand? How are you going to get your hand out of it to make the throw? How are you going to make a tag with this thing? How are you going to field a grounder? It just really makes no practical sense. But you may not be surprised, or you may be surprised, I don't know, to find out that this was not his most conceived baseball invention. So I'd like to introduce you to what I believe is the truly bizarre. The year before his two-handed catching glove, Bennett was issued a patent for this monstrosity. And at first blush, does anybody here think that this was invented to be used in a baseball contest? As you can see, it's called a baseball catcher, so maybe that gives you a clue. But essentially, this device was strapped to the catcher, who would essentially let the pitch whack him in the chest, and then he would retrieve the ball through this chute here, marked with the number 10. And again, I don't know if you could conceive any issues using this in a ball game, but how do you field a pop fly? How do you make a play at the plate? What if somebody's sliding into you and slices their leg open on this giant contraption? It really is crazy. And if you remember, the patent office has to find that a device is useful. So whoever examined this one and agreed that the patent should be issued really seems to have stretched the definition of useful here. And unfortunately, though, I think because everybody at the time recognized what a ridiculous contraption this was, it was really the most press coverage that Bennett would ever garner in his life. It was the sports writers essentially just snickering at the device, describing it as a cage built for a homesick bear or a dyspeptic hyena, or wondering whether a base runner should wait until the catcher removed the chicken coop from his chest before trying to steal a base. I think even the guy in the drawing is like, really? You have me have this thing strapped to my chest. But James Bennett's inventing career, although he doesn't go back into the baseball realm, was far from over. So in 1910, he invented this automobile fender, which was specifically designed to catch people hit by cars without injuring them. As you can see, here's the headlight marked with a number 3. And again, I don't know how practical this was, but I don't have any reason to believe it was ever manufactured. 1914, he's moved on from running gear for wagons. Now he is making running gear for vehicles. 1914, a tongue cap and neck yoke coupling. And of course, I'm sure you can all see this coming. Say it with me. His next invention in 1915 was an entire locomotive. This is what his skill set is, right? So, how successful was Bennett? He had some grand plans. 1909, he's appealing to the people of Fort Wayne, Indiana. 100 or more jobs, the largest manufacturing factory in the world. In 1911, his glove factory will keep 25 men busy. As of 1912, he's telling the people of Indianapolis that he has 3 useful money-making patents. Now in Tampa, Florida in 1915, he's advertising his tongue cap and neck yoke coupling, the running gear, a reach coupler, climber seat, a hay press, ball gloves, and of course, the locomotive. 1918, now he's looking for any gent or lady with some money to manufacture his 10 patents. And the very last one that I could find was from 1919 in Cincinnati, where there is a wonderful business opportunity to manufacture automobiles, rail joints, and a railway derailer. So from 1909, at least through 1919, those 10 years, it doesn't appear that Mr. Bennett was able to get a penny for any of his inventions. So we have some questions. Was James Bennett a ball player? Probably not. I don't think he was someone that played his only professional season at 38 years old. Was he a visionary? I'd say it's questionable. Was he a dreamer? Yes. Was he a mad scientist? Definitely. Was he a guy who really hated catching baseballs? I'd say without a reasonable doubt. And we've got 4 census from 1880, 1900, 1910, and 1920. Each one of these listed Bennett as a laborer or a farm laborer. So he did have dreams, but it didn't appear that he really ever was able to make them happen. He died on July 9th, 1921. And would you be surprised to find out it was due to mushroom poisoning? I'm just kidding. That is not true. I don't know how he died. But if any of his inventions were ever patented or sold or manufactured, there's no proof. But what I find so fascinating about this is James Bennett attempting to claim his piece of baseball immortality, his piece of the American dream, through a patent system that is explicitly designed to foster human innovation, which I think is really cool. Like James Bennett, someone has to be the first one to eat a mushroom. And that is it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I wish I would have listed more states, but all I could fit was New Hampshire and Maine, and that was what Clyde Sukeforth looked like. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That is our territory is New Hampshire and Maine, and we like it that way for sure.
Okay.
What was it you that took the line from you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Did you say that in your presentation at Dallas, or was that somebody from the crowd that was kidding around with you at the end of it? I forget.
I don't believe
Stole
that
it
I
up.
did.
I think somebody stole it from John Lennon and tried to turn it loose on you. I seem to recall that, but all I keep thinking is you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, because all I could see was a fellow who had these huge, huge ideas and never got one iota of it off the ground. It's very interesting to see.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder too if because I've not been able to confirm that that tower was a lawyer, whether they just found a rube and they were scamming him. I have no idea. He obviously came up with some ideas. He had to pay artists to render those illustrations. He had to pay somebody to
Yeah.
craft the claims submitted to the patent office. And the patent, what does he have? 10 or more patents would have been a very expensive endeavor, even in the early 1900s. So,
Hmm. Those of whom who are watching at home on YouTube after the fact, you can't see it right now because he's not speaking, nor can he speak. But Gus the Saber Cat is looking at all of this right now, saying, I just don't understand what that guy was doing. We've got some hands up that want to get in on some questions. If you have a question for our presenter tonight, John Racanelli, go down to the bottom of the screen and hit the react button. Once you hit that button, you'll see another one marked raise hand. Raise your hand. We'll get you in line to ask questions of our presenter, John Racanelli, tonight. First up is our man, Jeff Cohen. Jeff, you're on.
Thanks, Bruce. And I think I just bored Gus because he just left.
He just took off. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm done.
A very interesting presentation, John. It's not really a question. I have more of a question, not a question, but are you familiar with the Martin's Baseball Museum? He has a collector. He's in Ohio, and when I saw your presentation of the patents for the gloves, I went on his Facebook page, and it looks like he has some original gloves of that era. So I was wondering if you are aware of him.
I am not, and that's something that I would be fascinated to learn more about. So,
I'll just put the Facebook link into the chat so you can take a look at
okay.
it.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
This is what we do here. We connect researchers and baseball fans worldwide. Next up, John Bartolek. How you doing, John?
Doing good.
to
I
see
do
you.
have one of the inventions that you mentioned here, the Ellie Howard batting donut, wrapped up with a little electrical tape. It's now an Ellie Howard paperweight, and it was a great tool. With this, I could swing and miss with a lot more power than I had before I rode away to the Sporting News, only to find out that these are the best batting aid I could ever come up with.
Okay,
But
so
to answer
I
your
I
que-
gotta say, John, you see, how
Uh-huh.
come yours were the best batting aid ever and I couldn't see a thing?
I don't know, but I learned it too late.
Okay.
To answer your question about the Cal Ripken thing, though, from the brief look that I saw and a little bit of background that I know, he wrote he and his batting camp partners or baseball camp partners wrote a piece of software or some technology for a jugs gun that fired balls like fungos. And by programming it to randomly hit line drives, grounders, fly balls, and whatnot, you could assess and measure a fielder's performance. So Ripken and some of his partners came up with that tool. That flow chart you saw there was part of the programming behind it. And I know for years it was tied up in a patent dispute. I don't know. I believe he originally had prevailed and walked away with the patent for it. But I'm pretty sure that's what that little piece of software or that code was referring to.
Yeah, that's what it is. It was patented as an objective method for evaluating fielder skill, which objective seemed to be a little bit of a bluster, but yeah, I just kind of put it up there because I was like, I'm looking at that. I'm like, I don't know what this means.
Well, I love the players who were involved, with the technology. So that was a very interesting part of the presentation. So thank you.
You bet.
All right, next up is our man Mark Hoyle. Hey Mark, how you doing?
But I'm doing all right. Well,
There you
John called me out, so I didn't show off my Ellie Howard donut in the package.
Beautiful. Nice, Mark. Of course you have that.
Yes. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
I had some. I got some. I have a collection of vintage gloves. This is one like about 1910, and I believe this catches mitts from the mid 20s or so.
Wow, nice.
I just
Those are
started working on it, cleaning it up a little bit, so it takes a little work. But good presentation, John. Good to see you, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Good to see you too.
Mark's baseball room rivals, I think, a couple of wings in the Hall of Fame. So yeah, that is. I believe it is listed as a tourist attraction in his town as well.
Yeah.
Hey, look who's here! It's Phil Coffin. Phil, how in the world are you?
Doing fine, Bruce.
Good to see you.
I love this presentation because I'm actually working on a book right now about some of the innovations and innovators in baseball. And just coincidentally, today I received this Bill Doak glove it's from the early 20s. Doak was a pitcher who got a patent on this webbing in 1922 and made a heck of a lot more money from his patent with that sold through Rawlings than he ever did as a pitcher, even though he played 16 years in the major leagues. So the coincidence here, hearing John talk and my getting the glove today was just perfect.
That's awesome, Phil. I love it.
Anybody else for John Racanelli tonight? I loved this presentation at 54, and I had mentioned to somebody in the meeting tonight on the chat that when John gave it, the place was banged out. It was so full, and people really enjoyed hearing about this guy. This is a part of baseball lore that we don't have the chance to discuss because his reach was so small, but it was so interesting when you get into it. There's so many layers of the onion here, John.
I think the most interesting layer is that he had no idea how baseball worked. So that's
Right?
the problem that I had, is it makes no sense to me that you would design either of these contraptions and think they would have practical use in a competitive ball game.
The glove that looked like the accordion was the one that grabbed me the most. Like I'm picturing like Thurman Munson wearing that thing, catching a ball, and Fisk is sliding in the home, and he just hauls off and belts him with that thing. Hey, Alex Stays, you're up, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Cool presentation. Okay, I want to ask the spokesperson, the leader of this fine presentation. I have a suggestion. If we made him, and I have an answer for this, but I want to hear your answer first, and then from anyone else. When we make the movie about this dude, who plays him? Look, we love baseball movies. We like mad scientist movies. Let's put it together. Who would play him?
Bill Nye.
I think it would have to be somebody a little bit goofy.
I'm going with Jim Carrey. I think he'd be good.
I love that.
Like Zach Galifianakis or Will Ferrell or somebody
Yeah, Will
that would
Ferrell
look really
also.
Will
with
Ferrell.
a big handlebar
Yeah.
mustache.
Ryan
Well-
McClanahan says Jude Law in the chat.
Will would be good. His choice of projects lately has been a little spotty, but yes, Will Ferrell or Carey. I think my friend actually in California grew up with Will Ferrell, and he sent me a picture when they were like 7 years old. Hilarious. Anyway, really interesting presentation. Yes, and we like the inventiveness of he dreamed big, as you said. I mean,
He did.
in today's stock market where I work, he could have raised billions of dollars. The thing wouldn't even have had to work, right?
Right.
He was ahead of his time. A meme stock, he would have been a billionaire.
Yeah, and just so you know me a little bit more, Alec, I saw your comment about Elston Howard. I know he's much more remembered as a Yankee, of course, but if you don't know me, I'd like to say Cubs legend for anybody that may have had a single at bat as a Cub, like Robin Roberts, Cubs legend, right? Robert Marinville, Cubs legend, Tony Lazzeri, Cubs legend. So that's just my sense of humor, I guess.
Nomar Garcia Parra, Cubs legend.
Yes.
Were there any prototypes made of any of these things?
I have not been able to find any indication that anything that he developed or patented was ever manufactured, even a prototype. And I've searched, I've been down in moments, obviously scoured newspapers.com and every corner of the web, and I've not found any indication anything was ever made.
A couple of good ones in the chat. Robin Williams and Christopher Lloyd. That would
Yes.
I just want to know who gets to play the poor slob in the cage thing as a catcher. I mean, that's probably going to require twice the union rate.
Although, could you imagine Carlton Fisk wearing that thing?
Oh, Lord.
And people are like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere near home plate. Nice
Right.
try.
Hey, Ryan, you had your hand up. Did you have something?
I did, and then Mark stole my thunder. But do you have to have a working model when you propose something like this to the patent office?
No, all you're doing when you submit it is you have a very specific claim, is what it's called, and you're describing it in words. And for these types of devices, you include drawings of it. You never have had to make a prototype, any early designs. You never have to manufacture a thing. A lot of, at least at this day and age, they just would design it. And if the patent got issued, then they'd move forward actually trying to get investors and making it.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome presentation too, by the way. This is really fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
Alec in the chat. Would the Blue Jays have won if Will Smith was using that cage on the grounder to Rojas? I'm thinking yes. All right. We had a good time with this tonight. So let's do it again tomorrow night. That's right. Tomorrow night, 7:00, we have a very special presentation with Rob Fitz joining us to discuss his book, In the Japanese Ballpark, Behind the Scenes of Nippon Professional Baseball. The sign-up link is available in the chapter meeting booklet and on the SABR events calendar. And finally, if you're a baseball fan watching on YouTube and you like what you see, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to be alerted to each of our weekly uploads. And if you are not yet a member, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community. Offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom, SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world, like John Racanelli. For more information, go to sabr.org today. John, you're fantastic. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Bruce.
I
This was
appreciate
fun.
you.
All right. Take care.
All right, let's get everybody out of here. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.